Hello, Przemyslaw Marshall and Pawel Feldman. Welcome to this podcast.
Thanks for having us, Amir. It's a pleasure to be here.
Same with
Very
you.
glad to have you guys. Thank you. Before we start, congratulations, Shamek, on the new position as the CEO of 11-Bit Studios.
Thanks. Thanks.
Okay. Before we delve into the topics of teamwork and leadership, I wanted to start with your personal stories. Let's start with Shamek. What was your first leadership role? Do you remember?
You know, it's hard, I think, to make this hard line when you say, okay, this was a leadership role, and before that it wasn't a leadership role. It's really hard to say this was this moment. But how I see it, I think this really conscious leadership role was when with my friend Pawel Mrochen, we founded a game company. It was in 1998, I think, so more than 20 years ago. It was called We Open Eyes. So so that was, I was so much younger. We were aiming to create our first game. What's funny is that we were working remotely. We were working in 3 cities, and we were 2 co-founders, and that's it. My first role, my first game company, and first experience in making something as a let's say leader with Pavel.
So you were always an artist and a leader at the same time.
I didn't thought about that, but most of the time, yes. It might be like it was this way. Not always as a of course, and mostly only just recently, as for example as a CEO. But I was some kind of positional leader in my career, let's say.
Do you remember what your biggest challenge was when you started your own company and you had to do a lot of creative work and obviously a lot of other things on top of that? What was the hardest thing when you started out?
For me, it was when I started out. For me, it was this way and it's still to this day. I believe in roles, and I believe that people have positions in companies, and I also believe in people a lot. And when we started the company, for example, with Pavel, he, for example, was most responsible for most of the paper stuff, or most of the business stuff, and etc. And I was allowed to more focus on creative areas, and this way apart from making some kind of big, decisions at We Open Eyes back then, like signing our first deal, and the last one, to be honest, because we did only one game, I had this pleasure of mostly working on creative side of our product, of our first game, Starmageddon, Project Earth, somewhere called in some areas around the globe. And not, for example, to focus on a lot of financial paper, etc. work. So I was mostly with the team, and this way, I don't remember any hurdles then. I don't remember any challenges back then, apart from the first and the most challenge of finding our first publisher back then, because the model was with publishers mostly back then, and finding the publisher and convincing this publisher that he should invest in us and give us some money, etc. So propose our project, explain to it, and do some kind of marketing around it, and sign the first deal. This was, I think, the biggest challenge at the beginning, to be honest, to start it up, as far as I remember.
Okay, great. Pawel Feldman, you are today the Director of Business Development at 11-Bit Studios, but how did your leadership story begin?
Well, I would kind of divide it like Przemek did. I would say that for me, leadership is leading teams, right? Leading people, right? And but it's not. I think what you meant, Przemek, correct me if I'm wrong, is that it's also about embracing it. Like it doesn't often come together. And for me, that was the case when I was first time I had my people. That was CD Projekt Red, 2007, just before the release of the first Witcher. I was the marketing manager, took over last minute, I think 3 months, 4 months before the release, because yeah, it was a mess.
Wow.
It's a longer story. But yeah, and that I was responsible for working with external publishers, Atari, Novidisk, and CD Projekt Blue, which existed back then. It was the publishing label in Poland and in the area of Central Europe. And yeah, but to be very honest, I haven't embraced it that much. Also, I have a certain leadership style that's not very. It's more like a co-leadership kind of. I treat my people that I work with as my peers, and it doesn't mean that I don't believe in hierarchy. I do, but it's very informal with me. I have a very informal management style, and when it comes to embracing it and feeling that I really have become a leader, let's say, the people that I've noticed it, I was aware of it, that was at 11-bit only. That was the moment, I think, at around the time, it's somewhere between This War of Mine and Frostpunk, I guess. It kind of, I realized that there is something in me that people, I think, recognize and like to follow and like to be like go hand in hand with me and kind of build things together. And for me, leadership is like just gathering people and building something together, something great that you can be happy about, proud of, and kind of the togetherness of it and the team effort is really important for me. Yeah, although to be fair, my position at the company is also requires a lone wolf approach a lot, and especially in the past it required right, Przemek, when we started, I don't know, I think I was like employee number 19 or something. It was the like very early on. So yeah, and I was doing so many things, like
Right.
jack of all trades. You know, business development in gaming is like your special forces. You know, whenever somebody doesn't deal with something, they put you there and just do it, right? And yeah, and you like to be there, right? So, but it's often a very a lone wolf kind of job. When the structure grows, the business development teams, they grow, they divide. For me, there's a clear division between like the sales and distribution part of things and new business things. There's many things that can be kind of created into sub departments or whatever. But you there typically in gaming companies, the biz dev teams are not very big, especially when it comes to developers and publishers, because it's a group of people that are very all-round players, lone wolves, but also team players at the same time, which is also, I think, a very interesting trait and a very desired one in what in the part of the business that I work in. So yeah, so I embraced being a leader only at 11-bit, and yeah, and I feel good about it.
Great. So 11-bit Studios has obviously made fantastic games, and Shamek, you have been in the industry for more than 20 years now, in various positions, lead art director, and very recently as the CEO. What would you say are the main challenges in game development teams for the leaders? What are the toughest things that they have to tackle with, in your opinion?
I think the toughest thing for being a leader in game dev is, first of all, is understanding that we are all are artists. I'm an artist. We are together artists, and what's important and I think it's also a core of 11-bit Studios. It's to understand that if you are a leader, you need to pass a lot of ownership to the people of your team, and not to be this, like Pavel said, lone wolf, and not to be this only and top level artist or whatever you call it. But you must create as a team that everyone in this teams know what's this team ownership. So you need to pass a lot of your artism, elements to other people, and I think it's very important. And while doing so, what is for me, I often say to our leads at 11-bit Studios, especially when I was in those artistic art directing roles, when I say to my new leads, for example, when they come to being for the first time a lead, is to, okay, your role is changing. You are not an only artist anymore. You are a leader now. So you must give a lot of ownership, be clear to those, state the rules, etc., etc. But what is also crucial, I think, is not to switch your position only into this leader's role. You need to find a space that also gives you a lot of, let's say, those natural happiness with you being an artist. So you need to imagine and you need to plan your team and your work as a lead, as being a lead, being a manager, being a team member, and also still have this kind of part of artism within the project, and to understand this whole field, and not to get lost into some space, because then you or your team will fail. Your team will fail if you don't give them an ownership, and you will fail if you change your role so dramatically that you won't having any happiness anymore. Let's say happiness. It's this stuff that gives you an energy when you are creating games, etc. So I think this moment is so crucial for especially new leaders to understand and to give the ownership, pass the ownership, and to find your space. Excuse me, a second.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that's all. So I wholeheartedly agree. I'm glad that you mentioned it, because Amir asked about the biggest challenge. And for me, and I know that for many other people, the biggest challenge was giving ownership away, especially when you build something yourself. You know that you're an expert, and then you have to give it away, and even more importantly, the people that are going to be taking over, they are going to become bigger experts, and they are going to have the ownership, and you're going to have to let go. Letting go, I would say, it was, for me personally, in a way, at some point it was very hard, and I know that for a lot of people it has been. I'm observing it right now with people that are freshly made leaders, that they have that challenge on their plates right now, and they're trying to cut that rough piece of chicken, and I think going past that is really a very big step, and very then for me it was the realization that I when I let go, it was the realization that, okay, that my role is different now. I cannot lose touch with it, and that's what I think you meant as well, Przemek, right? That you cannot lose touch with the process. You cannot lose touch with the product, with the team, with the spirit, with the thing that makes us all want to work in game dev, right? But then you have to realize that some things you have to let go. You cannot handle everything yourself, because it's impossible.
That's a very important point. Delegating is the toughest thing that you both mentioned. But Pavel, do you have any?
I have another one as a leader.
Okay.
A lot of papers to sign. I just need to sign those right now. So
Okay. I'm gonna. Yeah. Okay. Take your time. Yeah.
let's talk.
I have another question. Okay. So, Pavel, do you have any techniques for that? I mean, how can you know what to let go and what to take care of yourself? Do you just make a leap of faith and trust in people, or maybe do you have some measures to find out what kind of things you can delegate and when you cannot?
Well, I think it's about the people that you have. For me, it was I knew that I should delegate stuff that I know that the people that are my colleagues that are on my team are going to handle better than me. Now or in the future, that they are predisposed for that, they have the mindset for that, they have the knowledge for that. In my case, when I'm thinking about some people, they were better when I hired them already, and that's why I hired them, because I knew that I needed these competences, and I didn't have them, and they would make us stronger. So first, I would say I was looking for stuff that would complement me. And then especially when hiring new people, right? And I was looking for people that were just either new and could do something that I couldn't do, or could make a better job, could do a better job. And secondly, again, observing your colleagues and just seeing what they can do, learning what their strengths are, talking to them, knowing what they want to do, right? Knowing what they would, where they see themselves, what is giving them this pleasure, this joy that Przemek mentioned, because that's also important. You cannot, I believe you shouldn't put stuff on people that only that brings them, you have to give them something that brings them joy, or leave them something. They have to be connected to the joy of games somehow, and you have to you have to make sure they are connected. Yeah. So a short answer is it comes from the people, and it comes from the people that you work with, and it comes from their strengths and weaknesses as well, because it goes both ways, right? You shouldn't be assigning stuff and delegating stuff at all costs, knowing that that person is not going to be able to handle it, because that's not their structure. That's not how they are built. That's not what they like. That's not what they do, and that's not how they see each other growing. Yeah.
So Przemek, you talked about developing new leaders, actually maybe teaching people to be new leaders or delegating some jobs to them as leaders. Do you think leadership or leaders are born? There are certain traits that either exist in people or not, or do you think people can be trained to be new leaders? Specifically, you've worked with artists, and a lot of artists and programmers, they are a lot introverted. Sometimes they rather do their creative work. What is your measure? What kind of people did you select to become new leads in your company? And as obviously a company your size, it is very important to have many good leaders.
Okay, I will try to answer it, but I will just tell one thing about what Pavel said. I often, regarding what Pavel explained, it's the same what I will say. It's often when I talk with my leads, and I look at those leads the same way, and when they ask me, hey, Przemek, should I hire this person or not? I often ask them this question. Okay, look at this portfolio, etc. I'm talking about artistic stuff right now. Look at this portfolio, make a test, and then you can have some kind of test period for this person. But then ask yourself, would you correct this person or would you not correct this person? If you already know that you will correct this person, find another one, because it won't work. In the long term, you will just spend a lot of time with this man, and that's not the goal. You should find a person that you think already, wow, I want to be correcting this person, because either he or she will be better, or either she or he has skills I don't have, either she or he has different view on things, and I like this view. But you should already know if you will be correcting or not. Okay, that's my question to leads that I'm asking if they ask me about some specific person. Okay, and they that's a good question. I need to answer it myself. So that's one thing. And it connects to your question that you asked already, just right now. Do I think that leads are born? This might be a bit controversial, but I think so. And because maybe not that they are born, but I know that there are people that shouldn't be leads. And I'm 100% sure. There are people that shouldn't touch being a lead, because of specific, specific psychology of those people, etc., of their likes, of stuff they like to do, etc.
Can you give a few examples, please, of those traits that are not good for leadership?
Oh, hard questions. Let me it's first time I'm hearing this kind of questions, so I need to find them in my head. But there are a lot of things that you should have as a lead. You should definitely be clear in what you are saying. You should definitely state your rules and goals you would like for the team to achieve. You should definitely listen to your people. You should you should definitely be a person that, and this is but this is what I'm saying right now. This will be my way of being a lead. For me, you should be close to your people. Not only listen, but you should also be close to your people, and not only this project level, but also on this, let's say, more human and social like level. You should understand the state of your team. You should understand, not only where they are going with this, let's say, expertise in your project, but also how they are feeling, what they are doing right now, and you should be open to hear those. And you should I think maybe not you should be interested, but I like to be interested, because I know, because only by knowing what's the state of our team, only then I understand their behaviors and I understand their decisions. And I think that's also very important. Leads should understand and try to understand the behaviors of the team, because we are totally different. We have totally different, I don't like this kind of words, but different energies. We have different approaches to stuff, etc., etc. And you need to know your team, and you need to be willing to know your team, not only know your team. You should be willing to, and there are a lot of stuff like, millions of stuff. But what you, for example, shouldn't you shouldn't do, you shouldn't question all the time your team. You shouldn't, it's what we said, you should give them space and not the opposite. For example, you should be, let's say, how to say it, not change your mind every 5 seconds, etc. So Pavel, please follow.
Well, it's a very hard question, actually, but I think it's people that are not team players. There are people that are really not good with they are very lone wolves, right? And these people are, I can hardly imagine a person like this being a leader, because leading is about being a part of the tribe, right? And that these kind of people, it's very hard for them. And it doesn't mean that they don't have a place in an organization. They absolutely do, but not in that place. Then, yeah, I think I always like this romantic notion that leading is through example, you know. So I like to know my people and never ask them things that I know that they can't do, and that and I at least imagine, but most of the time I know that I would be able to do myself. And I don't like what I'm saying is that I don't think people that are pushing people beyond their boundaries, natural boundaries, and their capabilities, they shouldn't be leaders, because that's just wrong. I guess listening, what Przemek said, empathy, listening. Like we have a very informal way of leading at 11-bit, and I think there is a big challenge right now that we are facing already, that we are growing, and it's very easy to be informal when you have a small team. And keep the culture going and everything being consistent and knowing everybody by name and stuff. And I feel very good in that leadership stance. I don't know about if Przemek's gonna say the same thing about himself,
you definitely know what
I wanted you to say it yourself. But yes, I think we both feel very good in this kind of and so now we know that it's harder now with a bigger team, and since the team is growing and it's going to grow more, this is something that Przemek mentioned before, that we want the leads to take over the roles of their small tribes, of the small, of the people that they're closest to them, and we want them to also try to, it's impossible to do it on the scale of the organization, but it's possible to do it on the scale of units, right? So we want that culture to be present everywhere in the organization, even after it grows, right? So but I kind of strayed from the question. I honestly, I haven't thought about it that much, but I would say that these points that I have raised, that they are the most important, and not so things that like lack of empathy, lack of listening to people, no team play and that kind of stuff.
You definitely know that there are also things like, for example, when some of our leads failed to be leads, leads, like lack of organization, lack of willingness to organize in general, the process, etc. Those are also things that just
that's a good point. There has to be balance also with the soft skills are important, right? But the hard skills, focus on the goal. If people are all over the place, it's very hard to be a leader, because a leader sees where we're going, right? That you have to know, and you have to make sure that people know that and they know the same thing, like they know the direction, right? You being all over the place doesn't help, because people, I don't think they trust leaders that are all over the place. You have to be open-minded, and so and be able to listen to your people, and actually admit that you know less, and that you hired your people to do your work and be experts, and often be better than you. So acknowledging it is good. And I did have experiences with bosses that were always right and always knew best in every fucking thing that they were touching, and that was not true, clearly, but they had a different idea on the matter. Fortunately, it didn't happen to me a lot in my career, but it did. So these kind of people, I mean, they can be leaders, and they are leaders, but that's not my favorite type of leaders. That's what I would say.
I would, if I can add something, I just remembered. I can tell you a small cool story regarding this.
Sure.
Starting with this year, we started a new, let's say, a new program, let's say, new kind of meetings. When I meet with every new person at 11-bit Studios, after this person is with us for minimum 2 weeks. So I've already had some 20 or between 10 and 15 talks already with new people. We hired a lot of people recently. And one of the questions I was asked, this is a very informal meeting. It lasts around an hour. I try to share, the 11-bit Studios vision. I try to share this informal way of how we progress and how we talk together, how we are a team, because more than one third of 11-bit Studios was hired during COVID, so they didn't have the chance to work with us and see how we closely work and in this informal way, how Pavel said it. And one of the questions that was really cool to me, and I like the answer for the question, was this. One of the persons asked me, "Hey, Przemek, is it normal at 11-bit Studios that, for example, a board member or CEO, etc., can come to a project and say something like, fix this, and or change this because I don't like it, etc., etc. And because is it normal? Because at my last company it was this way, and it's so cool that I can say to you, no, it's not normal. It's totally opposite. The ownership is in the teams. Of course, we have the moments when we can, how we say it, excuse me?
Step in?
When we have this moment when we can say what we like about it, say how it's called, it's a green light committee, something like what we had at 11-bit Studios. So I have moments and I can share my comment, but still the ownership goes again to the team, and it's not in this way. And for this person was like, wow, such a cool that and now I believe you that I will have some kind of leader ownership. And the second thing I really like this, and it's more about the culture, is that when it was the other person, and this person came to me, and one of the questions I'm asking is about, hey, please tell me what pieces use the most at 11-bit Studios after 2 weeks of work with us. And sometimes people just share their, okay, this is bad, okay, awesome. And sometimes there were some people that said, wow, it's like Eden compared to my previous company. But one thing I really loved is then when one person said that, hey, Przemek, it's the first company I can show that I somehow failed, and I can ask for feedback, and I know that I won't be, crushed to the ground, but on the other hand, I will receive a good feedback and progress further. So I have a trust in my lead, and that's so cool. My previous company was totally opposite. It was, I couldn't show my weaknesses and any weakness that I had. And at 11-bit Studios, I believe in my leads, and I see I can talk freely with those leads and be very honest to those leads. So that was really such a cool moment for me.
Sure, yeah. They had psychological safety. So I have a question for you, Przemek. Being able to balance creativity and productivity is a big challenge, because creative people would like to work on the product forever. But then obviously there are the deadlines and release schedules and everything. Some studios, I know they have a lot of producers to help them with organizing everything. A lot of teams have publishers that force them to finish on time. But as far as I know, 11-bit Studios does not have a lot of producers. And obviously for your games, you have self-published your games. How do you manage to balance creativity and productivity, specifically because your games have been very creative also? They haven't been just regular games similar to other games.
It's a very hard question, and I will be very honest right now to you. Because historically, for 11-bit Studios, this was in this way that I, together with Michał Drozdowski, we were board members from the beginning, and on the other hand, we were project leads. So we somehow merged both worlds. So we knew when we had to speed up and finish, etc. And we, as being a board members, we totally knew where we are at the company. So, but it was working for Anomaly, this war of mine, Frostpunk. But we some time ago we understood that this is not a process we would like to follow, that always the board member is a person, because only then this person knows what should we do. What we did is and I think it was a Greg's idea. First of all, we created what is called a leaderboard at 11-bit Studios, and this is a group of people. It's around 10 right now. When we have all of the team directors and game directors in this team, together with board members. So this is around 10 people at 11-bit Studios, and we share everything together. So for those people who, for example, are directors of our projects, for them to know everything, and also going into this direction that not only board, but also this leaderboard take decisions regarding 11-bit Studios. This is a direction that is, I think I heard it some few years ago. It's building some kind of ownership mentality around the company. So for all of our deals, switching for them not to think as employees, like, but more like let's say, in English, the closest word for me is an owner also, as a member, very important member of the company. So growing this awareness, okay, it is up to me also, and I have a large view at the company. I know where we are financially. I know where we are with the project. I know where we are with the team. This way, I think our teams have much better knowledge of where should we speed up, or how should we scale down or scale up, etc., etc. It's for them to making much more conscious decisions regarding the projects. So that's how I look at it. We are in a transition. That's what I say. I will be honest. It's happening right now. Okay, we are trying to do it. I think Pavel can add around it and comment on it, because we haven't spoken about it that much, I think. But I hope Pavel sees it and he knows it.
Yeah. So yeah, I do. Yeah, it is a huge challenge. like Przemek said, the growth itself, that's a lot of things, and I think that's also leadership. The challenges, they never end, and they just get bigger, and there's a lot of new stuff going on, and you have to tackle them, and you have to make sure that your people have to tackle them, right? But yeah, I would say that this ownership thing is very important, and yes, we are working through that, but I think Przemek, we are already past this point that I thought it was not going to happen, and it's already, because yeah, there was a point that I thought it was not going to happen, that there was this, like, I would say, like this like a situation that we're like standing in one place all the time, right? And then there was no movement, no improvement. There was only struggle, and yeah, and we're past that point. And now I feel that we are again speeding up, going ballistic. That's my favorite expression. So yes, we're pretty much going ballistic, and I really love that. That's the best way to live, man. Going ballistic.
Interesting. So
Yeah.
a lot of a
But
lot of
we don't have
transparency and ownership.
That's also important to emphasize that being a leader is tackling problems. Being a leader is tackling companies' problems, people's problems. Like it's a lot of solving problem solving. But yeah, but it's also very rewarding.
So Pavel, 11-Bit Studios is also a publisher, and a very good publisher with a few great games.
So I've heard.
You have been you have been on top of the you have been the publishing director and aware of all the everything happening in publishing. You talked about the importance of people relations in a team. My question is, so obviously when a game is pitched to you, you look at the project, the game, the product, but how important are the people behind the game for you?
Well, they're the most important thing. If for me, I know obviously the project itself is the first filter, right? Well, that's the first thing that we see. But from my limited experience in publishing, because we're still fresh when it comes to publishing, and I'm glad that you're saying that we are, and yes, we've heard that we are perceived quite well, so I'm very happy about this. But I would say that the project itself is already a good determinant of who are we dealing with, but then the relationship, the communication, the kind of the way we click with the people on the other side, right, on the side of the developer, and how we kind of interact, and what's the I would say, if the frequency is the same, then only then things start working, and they usually they work best, right? There's no problems that we cannot tackle together. There's no hard moments that we cannot go through together, and those, as you know, they happen as well. But still, it's like with every relationship, be that like a marriage or like be siblings, or relationships are relationships, right? They're good moments, bad moments, and the better the communication and the better the frequency, the closer the frequency, the easier it is to go through these things. So I would say that the relationship with the team is the most important thing, and as far as I know from other publishers, it's a pretty universal thing, like especially the what we call indie publishers, like smaller labels. There's a lot of relationship driven business there, and the proof for that is very simple, that it's very common that once there is a cooperation, it continues beyond the first project. Because if the relationship works, many people just are okay with that because it's a good relationship, right? And also, if it's a good relationship, both sides work their way towards making it even better. That's the idea, right? So yeah. So I would say that's the key thing. But it's not that easy, of course. Like, to find a good match.
Are there any red lines? Is there anything you see in development studios that you would say, okay, this team is not going to make it, or they're not going to be able to create a good product?
Well, but these are mostly, I would say, here I would focus more on the hard points than soft points. So like teams that don't cover all the competences, teams that they like lack vision, and they have like gaps in their vision, teams that are not ambitious enough, they're not brave enough, they're not crazy enough, because you gotta be like, look at Valheim, right? 3 people making that behemoth, right, thing. Like they have to be crazy, but yeah, it paid off clearly. So what else? I guess. Well, yeah. I mean, we are in business, right? So theoretically, it never happened before, but theoretically, if the project is amazing, the team is amazing, and the communication is so, we should still go forward with it. But like I said, never happened. So there might be something there that this thing is important to us. This interpersonal and like interpersonal communication is a very important factor. What else? I guess if the project is bad, it's bad, right? Even if it's best people, right? Even it's the close people. But what we try to do there, if there is good communication, we always try to explain, even if there's bad communication. But we always try to explain if we are rejecting something. We always try to explain why we have rejected it. What we are also, as you know, a very focused publisher. We have a profile. We kind of embraced this meaningful games profile that we cherish, and we think that we kind of are very good at it, and it's our USP. And internally, all of our games come from that thought of having a meaning and being meaningful. And externally, we're also looking for these things. So this is also very important for us. And if it's not there, it's usually harder for us to be committed to something like that, right? I think that's it.
Great.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Przemek, would you say that your understanding and skills in art has helped in you being a better leader in any way?
That's a cool question.
Yeah, but I could answer it.
Yeah, he has very spot on questions.
So answer it. Being honest, I think the one thing that it might have done is it amplified my understanding that we are all artists, and that every artist should have this element, the space for expression. I don't think my education as an artist helped me in being a leader. It's just understanding that that's what I said some time ago, and we are all. Today, I think we are talking a lot about the same stuff. To be honest, most of the same ideas, and yeah, it helped me to really fastly see what I'm seeking as being an artist, and then understanding that my team should also have this, and it shouldn't be taken away from the team. Okay?
I can answer a bit if you want. From my perspective, I think that it like from looking from an external perspective, and it's about Przemek and other artists that I know that are leaders, that there is a certain sensitivity that artists have, and it also kind of reflects in how they deal with people, I think. And it's about the part that Przemek mentioned in the beginning of the interview. Being more able to understand people, more emotions, and kind of, I think there's more empathy in many of those cases. So yeah, it's I think it's very, very useful.
If you say so, okay.
Emotions and empathy can be a blessing and a curse, both, of course. But in this case, they help, I think, with the interpersonal stuff.
Interesting. So in the past year, most of the studios have been working remotely. Would you say there are any techniques, or do you have any advice for leaders that are forced to work in a remote setting with their teams? Should they change anything? Has anything worked really well for you guys?
Pavel, do you like to say
Well,
something?
I
Of
can
course, I
say
can say something, but
from I think we're gonna have different perspectives. Przemek is closer to development still, right? I mean, you have the whole overview. I have my chunk still. So I can say from that from the chunk that I have a very good visibility on. I would say that of course now it's better. The beginning was pretty hectic, right? All the transition, all of the tools, all of the also insecurity and uncertainty. If it's going to work, how is it going to influence everything, and yeah, and from my perspective, well, I see that there are communication challenges. Because it's always easier. I like to be talking to people like in the same room, and although the tools are pretty good and it works, sometimes it doesn't just feel as good, But effective. Looking at my team, on the teams that I work with on a daily basis, I haven't seen that much of a change in effectiveness or stuff being done or not done. Sometimes some miscommunications, but that can be quickly resolved. I think what's a big challenge, and I think that what changed a lot. I think it's actually a very positive thing, is that I want to be talking to my people more, and the people that I work with, not only about work but other stuff, and just see where they are and kind of see how are they doing, because that also helps with the heaviness of the whole COVID situation. We are all artists. Just spoke about many people are quite sensitive, so it's good that they and us that we have more communication, not only presence, right? Because I think what I want to say is that in the office environment, the presence of people already helps, right? And now you have to communicate more, I think, to have this social connection still there on a similar level. What else? Well, yeah, now it's better. In the beginning, there was also uncertainty about how people are going to behave. If I have to, implement some tools of controlling and reporting, that kind of stuff, so I know what's going on. Yeah, but that was all resolved. I would say that if you spoke to me like a year ago, because we've already been like a year, but almost, right, since we moved to remote work, I would be more uncertain, unsure, and now I think from that from the standpoint that I'm right now, we are going forward. There's a lot of things that we have resolved during this year. That hurdle that I mentioned before, that happened during the year in my mind, and we are speeding up, not slowing down. Many things gain clarity. If I don't know if it would happen faster or more in a more effective way when we were in the office. Maybe yes, maybe no. There's less distractors in a way. There are different distractors, but I can focus better on many occasions now on stuff, right? So that's on my personal note. Do you want to add your perspective to that, Przemek?
I have only one advice. When switching to working offline, not only offline but remotely, from the teamwork at the company, I think you should find new tools to cover different areas, different aspects of teamwork. So definitely you should find new tools to cover this production, organization, in general, tools to fill this production side of the teamwork and the game development process. Find it and name it and use it and start to use it, like meeting, etc., production schedules, like Jira, etc., etc. A lot of stuff you can do to fill this, to solve this new situation in the production. Then you also need to find a new tools for creative side of work. So for how to fuel this creative moments in game dev, when you brainstorm, when you think what to do it, and so also have new tools for remote work or creative moments, very important moments for games. That are the moments when your games are shaped. So this is very important to find those new tools. And the last thing is also find new tools for more this soft stuff, like team stuff, like social stuff, like contacts with interpersonal contacts. So all of those three should be filled and solved in a new way to only be able to think of it that you are working okay right now. Because when you, for example, forget about the soft stuff, you might be found in the situation that, okay, your production is going well, but your team is so worn up and so psychologically in a bad shape that they will, in a few months, they will just break. And so all of those elements are needed for you to be. And this is my understanding, because maybe there are some theories. I'm saying what I'm thinking. So not only production, not only creative, and not only this soft team social elements and understanding of your people in the team.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. I have many questions from you, but our time is almost running out. So I'm going to pick two more, if that is okay. Okay.
Sure.
So, Shamek, we had an experience with you, because feedback is a very important topic for any leader. And we have an experience showing our game, Children of Morta, to you when it was in development and getting your feedback. And I remember you were very direct and honest and brutal. And it was really good. It was really good. It made us realize some of the shortcomings of the game. Is that always your style? Do you have a specific style for giving feedback to your team and to the other leads that you are leading?
I think so. It's cool that you are bringing it back. You might not have the full information around this feedback, because I'll also tell you, I asked Marek and asked Marek, can I be really honest with those guys? And Marek says, of course, be honest, totally. They are really cool, and you can talk freely. And I really wanted to really share with you what I'm really feeling, and how I think what is lacking, and I hope you weren't forced with it. I was just sharing you my inspiration and things, etc., and honestly telling you what I feel about it. Okay, so yeah, I most of the time believe this is the best possible way. There are some moments, for example, like with juniors, when you want to bring them into the team. When I, to be honest, I'm being a bit more, let's say, on a level where I'm, a bit softer. But I want to build the confidence in the people, because I think also building a confidence in your team is really helping a lot, because the people and the team works much more fast, and the people know where this is good or not. And this was also the case for me. I was some times ago, I was struggling with building my confidence as a, for example, artist, and it had to be built, okay, and I had to find this distance of understanding if it's good, if it's bad, and then committing to myself, this is bad what I did. So that's why, for example, for juniors, I'm being a bit softer, because I believe this at the end will, build their confidence in this more progressive line, and not to be so very hard and strict. And when I saw your game, I was, I saw a lot of awesome things that you did, and I wanted just to help. And this was the ideal way I could do it, just to be honest there with you.
Sure. And my final question is, for the leads that are very young and just starting out, what kind of advice, suggestions do you have? You both have a lot of experience in the industry. A lot has changed. A lot is still the same in the industry. What would be your suggestions and advice?
Pavel, start.
Well, pick the right people to work with you. Listen to them, respect them, know their strengths and their weaknesses, nourish the strengths, don't punish for their weaknesses, just make sure that the weaknesses are put on the sidelines. And I guess learn from people that have been there before, if you have mentors. Listen to them, observe them, talk to them. If the work environment is healthy, they should be willing and open to share their experiences. It's not a shame to ask for help, if you don't know how to solve a situation. Even if you're a leader, you don't have to know everything. And it's not only about talking to your peers, but also to your people. Sometimes you might get invaluable feedback and invaluable insight from the least expected place. And I guess that's it, right? There's many things, right? But in a nutshell, I would say that covers it.
I totally agree with what Pavel said. What I can add from myself is understand your goals, understand what you are playing for, what you are playing for in this year, what you are playing for in 5 years, and and those, only when those goals are really going in line with what you are doing at your company, with the game, etc., only then it will be really, you will be, I think, really successful. So ask yourself, understand your goals, because only then you will be happy with what you are doing at this moment. And as a lead, I think try to be as precise in your needs to your team, in the project needs, and your artistic needs as a lead, etc. Try to be very precise in what you are aiming for there, because only then the team will understand what we are playing for. So that's it.
And don't work on shitty games. Just make good games, and make sure people make good games. Yeah,
that's a good one. Good closing comments. Przemyslaw Marszal, Pawel Feldman, thank you very much for being on this podcast. It was a pleasure talking to you both. Thank you for sharing the knowledge, the experiences, the wisdom.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks.
Thank you
It was a
very much.
pleasure. Nice meeting you again. Hi, thanks.
Yeah, very good. Hope to see you soon.